Hello everyone, myself Iklasur Rahman, and all of you know that yesterday or just at the previous classes we have covered the first part of these classes, and today we have brought the rest part of this chapter. So now I am going to write down the remaining part of this chapter. So today our topic will be the first part, that is the characteristic of matter, diffusions and evaporation. So let's go to understand what is the characteristic of matter. So as you know that in our surrounding there are three states of matter. The first one is solid, second one is liquid, and another one is gas. So basically in our surrounding we can see these three states of matter, that is solid, liquid and gas. But question is that actually what is the characteristic of solid states of matter? What is the characteristic of liquid? What is the characteristic of gases? So let's go. The first characteristic of solid is solid has definite volume and definite shape. But in case of liquid has only definite volume but don't have definite shape. Liquid doesn't have any definite shape. That is why the liquid can take up the shape of the container in which water is or liquid is kept. But in case of gaseous, there is no definite shape, no definite or no definite volume. But I would like to ask the questions, why the characteristics are vary from states of the matter to the another states of the matter? So guys, we have learned that the states of matter depends on two factors. The first one is the kinetic energy of the particles, and next one is the gap between the particles or intermolecular force of attraction. So these two factors, the first one is intermolecular force of attraction and second one is kinetic energy or thermal energy. These two things are mainly responsible for the different states of the matter. So due to different intermolecular force of attraction and different kinetic energy, the properties or characteristics of the solid, liquid and gas are different. So as we know that in case of solid, all the particles are getting very closed. Why? Because in case of solid particles, the intermolecular force of attraction is very high. All the particles are combined together. All the particles are combined together by a strong intermolecular force of attractions. And according to Newton's gravitational law, as you know that the attraction force is directly proportional to the mass of the object and inversely related to the square of the distance between the particles. But now question is that why in case of solid states of matter the intermolecular force of attraction is very high? Because there is very less gap between the particles. If the gap between the particle is very less, then force of attraction will be key maximum. Why? Because the distance is very less between the particles. On the other hand, in case of gaseous states of matter, there are too much space between the particle. That is why all the gaseous particles can move freely, can move randomly and collide to each other to give the Brownian motions, Tyndall effect, etc. So In higher education, we will discuss about the Tyndall effect, what is the Brownian movement. That things will be discussed. So let's back again. Now another property is it is least compressible. Least compressible. Compressible means can you compress by applying the pressure? No. Why? Because there is no too much gap between the particles. That is why we can't compress further. That is why this is the this is solid state, the least compressible in nature. But in case of gaseous states of matter, there is too much large between the particles now. That is why by applying the pressure, all the particles can be compressed to each other to form liquid, either liquid or solid. That means from here we can conclude that the gaseous particles is highly compressible in nature. So this is the highly compressible in nature. But what's about the liquid? Liquid is not too much highly compressible or not least compressible. Just this is lying between the gas and solid. That means moderate compressibility. Moderate compressibility. So this is neither highly compressible nor least compressible, just lying between the gas and solid. So this is the basic properties of the solid, liquid and gas. So what is the properties? The properties of solid, that means solid has definite volume and definite shape, and it is the least compressible, and it is that it has definite volume but it does not have any definite shape. That is why the liquid states of matter take up the shape of the container whether it is kept. Suppose if I keep the water, so as you know that water is a liquid. Now tell me one thing, has liquid own shape? No, it can take up the shape of the container whether it is kept. If you keep in my pocket, then water will shape then water will take the shape of the pocket. If you keep the water into glass, then water will take up the shape of the glass in this way. So again, next topic, this is the one more thing we will discuss about the compressible or compressibility. So first topic has been covered. Now we are going to discuss about the diffusion. So what is the now question is that actually what is meant by the diffusion, or what is the diffusion, or does mean by diffusion, that we have to understand. Actually diffusion, one more thing before starting the diffusions, I would like to say something. As you know that all the living creatures are breathing for their survival, and also you know that all the aquatic animals are breathing the dissolved oxygen which is dissolved into water. So let's see. So diffusion means to intermixing the particle into another states of matter. So what does mean by the diffusion? Diffusion means to intermixing the particle into another states of matter. For example, if you take a glass of water, that means this glass is filled up by the water particles. So this is the water. And as we know that there are gap between the particles now, because water is a kind of liquid state. Water is present in liquid state, And in case of liquid states of matter, there are gap between the particles. So if you add the salt from the outside into water, then automatically, salt means common salt, that is the NaCl. So what is the common salt? Common salt is the NaCl or sodium chloride. This is known as common salt or rock salt, or another name of this is table salt. So NaCl is also known as common salt, rock salt or table salt. So if you add the salt from the outside into water, then NaCl will be dissolved into water? Yes. Why? Because there is some gap between the particles. So when you will go to add the NaCl from the outside, as you know that NaCl is the solid state now, the solid or solid substances. Solid substances. So this solid can be dissolved? Yes. Why? Because this NaCl particle will occupy the space between the liquid particles. Can you see from the outside whether NaCl is present into water or not? No, we can't see. Why? Because the NaCl are totally dissolved or totally mixed into the particle. This is called the diffusion. So diffusion means to intermix the another states of matter into another states of matter. Okay, acha. Can you dissolve the gas? We have dissolved the solid into the liquid, but can you dissolve the gas into liquid? Yes. Especially oxygen and carbon dioxide gas can be dissolved into water. That is why all the aquatic animals are living into water. All the aquatic animals breathe the dissolved oxygen. That means oxygen molecules already dissolve into water. Suppose this is the blue color is the water particles and red color is the oxygen particles. So this is the oxygen particles. So these dissolved oxygens are taking, or this dissolved oxygen are taken by the aquatic animals and plants. This is called the diffusion. So diffusion means intermixing or dissolving the, that means in case of liquid the gas as well as solid can be dissolved. But question is that the rate of diffusion can be increased? Yes, the rate of diffusion can be changed. How? Let's go. Sorry, actually it will be rate of diffusion. Rate of diffusion. The rate of diffusion maximum in case of gaseous particle, and next on is liquid, and least in case of solid. Now tell me, the rate of diffusion is maximum for what? For gaseous particle, and minimum for solid. Why? Because diffusion means intermixing between the particles. So if gap is more, if gap is too much high, then the mixing of the particles will be very high. That is why the rate of diffusion of gas is very high as compared to liquid and solid. But question is that the rate of diffusion can be changed? Yes. The rate of diffusion depends on factor, that is the temperature. That is the temperature. Now I am giving one example. Suppose if you take a glass of water, that means this glass is filled by water molecules. So this is the blue color is the water particles, and I am adding the sugar. I am adding the sugar into water. Then this, after dissolving the sugar into water, the sugar will be dissolve. But if we add one more spoon of sugar, then this sugar will be dissolved? No. Why? Because if we add one more spoon of sugar, then the gap between the particles of the water will be occupied, or this gap already occupied by the sugar particles. So there is no space. There is no space between the particles to occupy the extra or remaining one spoon of sugar. But if you heat this solution, and as you know that if you are giving heat, heat means ki form of energy na. So if you apply the heat energy, then all the liquid particles will be activated, then the movement of the particles will be more. If movement is more, then the gap between the particles also will be more. If gap is increased, then extra sugar or extra spoon of sugar will be dissolved. That means the rate of diffusion are increased now. By how? By applying the heat. That means the rate of diffusion depends on temperature. So higher the temperature, higher the rate of diffusion. So ROD means rate of diffusion. Higher the temperature, higher the rate of diffusion. Lower the temperature, lower the rate of diffusion. So we have completed the diffusion. So now we are going to discuss about the evaporations. So this is the very important topic in this chapter, because in board exam a lot of questions comes from this topic. This is the evaporation. So first of all we will discuss what is the evaporations. Rate of evaporation depends on which factor and the natural phenomena of the evaporation. So first of all let's discuss about the natural phenomena of the evaporations. Now I would like to forward the questions in front of you, my dear student. Now tell me, what is the when, as you know that when a glass of water is kept into water, that means this is the layer of the water now in the glasses. After few days the level of the water will be decreased. But question is that why the level of the water is decreased? One more thing, or one more question I would like to ask. When we spread the cloth into sunlight, then automatically the cloth are drying up. Why? Due to this phenomena, that means due to evaporations, the clothes are drying up. Again, why the level of the water is decreased? Again, the water is decreased due to the phenomena of evaporation. So let's discuss what is the evaporation. Suppose this is the glass. This is the glass. That means up to this level, water is present. Up to this level, water is present. So this is the water. Our water is liquid. That is why this region is called liquid phase. And there is no water molecules. There is air medium, that means there is air particles is present, no any liquid particles is present. That is why this is called gaseous phase. Why? Because there is no water molecules is present, and this is the glass, or this is the container, and this container is a closed. This container is closed. That means it is a kind of closed vessel. So in a closed vessel, we have taken a amount, or we have taken the amount of, or few amount of water. So up to this level water glass is covered by liquid phase and this is the blank phase or gaseous phase. That means these portions are occupied by gaseous particles. Now, after few minutes, these water particles will absorb the energy from the outside. As you know that the room temperature is 25 degrees Celsius. So, surrounding the glass there is some temperature is present. So, these water particles will absorb the heat from the outside to activate. If this particle gets activated by absorbing the heat from the outside, then these water particles will try to go at the gaseous phase. At a certain time, this gaseous phase will covered by the water particles. This is called the evaporation. So, what is the evaporation? Evaporation means the movement of the liquid particle from liquid phase to gaseous phase is called the evaporation. So, what is the definition of the evaporation? Evaporation is the movement of the liquid particles from liquid phase to gaseous phase is called evaporation. The movement of liquid particle from liquid phase to gaseous phase is called evaporation. Is called evaporations. Now, I would like to ask the questions. For evaporations, the heats are required from the outside? No. The rate of evaporation or evaporation may take place at any temperature. That means there is no particular or there is no certain temperature for evaporation. So, this is the very important, most important point. That is, for evaporation there is no specific temperature are required. The evaporation can be taken place at any temperature. The evaporation can be taken place at any temperature. The evaporation can be taken place at 10 degrees Celsius as well as 11 degrees Celsius as well as 25 degrees Celsius as well as 50 degrees Celsius. That means there is no particular temperature are required for evaporations. So, to evaporate, the liquid particles absorb the heat from the surrounding. That is why in the surrounding the amount of temperature is decreased. The amount of temperature is decreased. For this reason, we feel cool outside the liquid. This is called the cooling effect of the evaporations. So, today our class till now, and next topic, the effect of the evaporation will be discussed in the next topic. So, thank you.